Cyrene saved my life, and this is the continuation of a YouTube short that I posted previously, and I said that I was gonna elaborate more on it because I think that this is an important video that I want to make because it goes about mental health awareness and just how fiction is so beautiful and can inspire so many people even if it's not real. So this video is going to be unscripted. I just have notes on my side to keep track of the timeline. And I'm just going to be playing Honkai Star Rail on the side because I need my Stellar Jades. But without further ado, I'm going to start this story from probably when I was really young. I was raised in a Christian private school from kindergarten to first grade, and then I transferred schools, and through second to fifth grade I was in another Christian private school, and then in sixth grade I finally went to a public middle school. And transferring multiple times, if you know, is really hard because every single time I have to restart the friends, and in the first place I'm not good at making friends in the first place. I'm weird. I can be kind of awkward. I can be very eccentric and just yap a lot, and a lot of people just didn't really vibe with it as much. And I mean, low-key, I wouldn't be surprised if I'm autistic because that's how I would describe myself back then. But I never really had that many friends, nor a friend group. It was kind of hard because I'm an extrovert with, believe it or not, social anxiety. So, to elaborate on that, I get energy from spending time with people, with talking to people. My goal is to always be with people because that's what makes me happy and that's what gives me energy. But on the other hand, I have social anxiety, which means whenever I'm talking to people, generally I'm always thinking, oh, they're judging me, or oh, they don't want me here, or oh, I'm just in their way, and they prefer that I do not join their conversation, but they just pity me, so they're not telling me that, as well as just feeling a lot of anxious thoughts when I'm in a group of people. So that kept me a lot from joining friend groups through the private schools I went to and when I finally went to middle school. But I coped with it. I just tried to yap as much to my classmates as possible. Though I did get bullied a couple times, but I low-key I just told the teacher because I don't know. I thought the boys bullying me were stupid, so I got that handled. But that did just reinforce the theory in my head that I'm just weird and I'm not making friends and it's cooked. But eventually I get to middle school and I'm the sheltered baby chick that just left the nest from private schools, Christian schools nonetheless. So all of a sudden I'm just jumped into, oh boy, the world's not as great as I thought it was. At first it was just 6th grade. It was nice. I made a lot of good relationships with my teachers. I yapped a lot to classmates, and I was just trying to make friends because I was like, this is my third start. Walk in. This is when you're supposed to make friends. But unfortunately, everybody there is pretty much friends from elementary school. So I struggled a lot with that, but I coped with it. And then the pandemic hit. I will not say exactly what years this happened because I don't want to completely dox my age. But the pandemic happened and I ended up isolated. And my best friend stopped talking to me on calls, and she would only text me, and she would make me do stuff so that she would actually talk in calls. So like it was like bribery. And I was really sad because she was like the only person I had left, and we hadn't even been to the same school since like kindergarten, first grade. So I was hurt by that, and at that point, that's when I started becoming wanting to end it all. I don't know if I can say that on YouTube. But I just played a bunch of games. I played Genshin Impact since, you know, that came out around the time that the pandemic happened. I played Minecraft, and a bunch of different other games that I needed to cove. And I joined Discord servers, and I became essentially chronically online. But what am I supposed to do? I'm stuck in a house as a middle schooler / high schooler. I'm not gonna tell you. And I struggled a lot with that. But then the pandemic ended, and I was still alive. I was not dead yet, and I didn't end it yet, and I'm very glad I didn't. But cue more of high school, I was still really lonely, and I was just an obsessed, hyperfixated weaving gamer, who couldn't, unfortunately, find a clique. But then I had my first crush, I'll admit it. And what brought me to him was partly his kindness, but also partly that I think part of me just wanted to be like him. Because he was popular, and he had a lot of good friends, and he had a really big friend group, and a lot of people knew him, and I wanted to be just like that. So I ended up trying to copy a lot of his mannerisms. I'd say hi to everybody that I know, and even people I didn't know, which probably made it really awkward for those people. I'm sorry. But I would try to just like spark conversation and talk to them, and just try to keep a smile on my face even if I wasn't happy myself. Because I thought that's the only way that people are gonna want to spend time with me. And if you're asking, did I confess to that crush? Yes. Did it work out? No. I'm not talking about it anymore. But after that, I found a friend group. And I was a junior in high school. And this friend group was all seniors. I found them in beginning of second semester. And I was really happy. It was the first friend group I had. We played Valorant, League of Legends, Honkai Star Rail, you name it. We played a lot of games, Lethal Company, Repo, Content Warning, and those were the happiest times of my life. Truly. I had people to call with every single day and play with, and I had people that were willing to like head to the mall with me and just hang out, people that would want to just go get like lunch together, go get ice cream or something, go karaoke. I'd never karaoke'd with friends before. I dragged them to karaoke a ton after that. But somewhere in my heart, I knew that one day it was gonna end because I was a junior and they were seniors. And ever since I joined their friend group, it was really odd, but every single day I would hear something in my head go, please don't leave me. I'm sorry. In a lot more of a desperate tone than that. Every single day. And I'll tell you when that thought ended, but it's gonna spoil part of my life story, so bear with me. But I had a lot of fun with them. I dragged them to like Disneyland and Knott's Berry Farm. And along comes April, which is around the time I started content creation and streaming, because it had been my dream to just make content. I love entertaining people and I love making people laugh. It's just something that I love to do. So I thought content creation was perfect for it. So if you know, I started around April, but then I got a crush on one of the guys in my friend group, which also bear with me, the whole friend group's guys except me. I'm a tomboy for a reason, gang. Not that I'm a pick me. I like girls, like in terms of like I can be a girl's girl too, and like I think girls are pretty. I'm straight, but still. But yeah, I got a crush on one of the guys in my friend group, and I asked him out to prom, and he said yes, and that was the first relationship I'd ever got into, and I was super happy. But then I also realized he's going to college across the country, which means I don't have much time left with him. And once he's in college, he's not gonna have a lot of time to hang out with me either. So I gave up content creation because I wanted to spend more time with him because I knew it was limited. And do I regret it? I kind of do, because I think I should have valued myself a bit more and my dream, but instead I laid everything onto him. And it was a great relationship. I loved him, he loved me. We both play Honkai Star Rail. We both like anime. We're both like weeb degens, and he also likes VTubers. So that also went along well. But I didn't tell him that I had essentially quit it for him. And it was a good relationship though. We went to Anime Expo together and cosplay together. We spent so much of summer together. And I was genuinely really happy with him. And the problem with me is that I'm a very clingy person because I haven't had a great amount of friends, as you already know. And these were like my miracle. That's what I called them. And I was clingy because I didn't want to lose them, even though I knew somewhere inside me that I was going to eventually. So I came to depend on them for my happiness. And I depended a lot on him for my happiness as well. And I used to be scared that I'd become a burden, and I told him that. I told him, am I a burden to you? But he said, no, you're never a burden. Tell me anything, I want to help you. And so I fell deeper into the hole of depending on my friends and him, rather than myself. Eventually, he went to college, and he broke up with me. And I was devastated because I had relied and depended on him, and I will not completely disclose the reasons he broke up with me, as I don't know every reason, but partly because I seem to have needed too much of his time. And if he watches this, I apologize for that. And I know that time is limited, and that we don't have an infinite amount of it, and there's some things that we really need to pay attention to, like school. But I was really hurt, to be honest, because I had loved him, and I had imagined marrying him and just being with him for the rest of my life. But then, that's the day that the thought, please don't leave me, I'm sorry, disappeared. Just like my brain had knew. And I spiraled and I fell. So the morning after, we decided we were gonna go on break. And I just kept clinging on to the fact, I need to prove myself as a great person. I need to prove myself and push, and maybe I can get him back. I made the fatal mistake of, you're not supposed to contact your ex after you break up, because things only go horribly. But I clung to that hope, and I'd say week by week I ruined it, and I kept spiraling, and I got desperate. And if he's watching this, I apologize for getting so desperate. And it just spiraled and spiraled. And then eventually, my mother begged me to end it because I was ruining myself over it. I was consistently sad, crying, depressed. I could barely go to school just because I could only remember strolling the hallways with him and the rest of our friends. And just like him, all of our other friends were in college too. Nobody was left with me at school. It was barren for me. So I spoke to him and I ended it. But then I was about to fly to his college to tour it. And I realized I regretted it. I didn't want it to end. And I begged again. And that's the day that ruined it all, I'd say. And it only went worse from there, to be honest. Because I got on new meds for my anxiety and OCD, and then my thoughts got worse, and I had thoughts that were telling me that I should end it, and that the pain wasn't worth it to keep living. And I, to some degree of me, wanted to agree. Because I had been heartbroken. I'd become lonely again. And the people I depended on had left, whether of their own volition or out of necessity. And I went to my teacher, who was a mandated reporter, with a note. And I told him about my thoughts, and they took me to a mental hospital. If you know what I'm talking about, it's basically the psych ward. And that was quite a journey. They locked me up for a week, gang. So that was not great. I couldn't grind for my Cyrene, gosh dang it. But it's so, I was like, the first 3 days, I was like, you know what, I'm learning things. There's a lot of girls here, and they're generally nice. But then one of the friends I'd made there proceeded to talk bad about me. And I'm not gonna say what she called me, but it was offensive. And I was hurt again because I thought, oh, I actually have the capability to make friends. Look, I made friends with people in the psych ward. That's an achievement, surely, right? And then my friend just proceeded to not be my friend. But we made up. But I definitely had enemies at the psych ward, and they definitely weren't intended enemies, because I was just trying to be nice and survive, because I wanted to get out. Clear as that, because who the heck wants to stay in the psych ward? And cue a week of the psych ward later, I'm out, and I'm so happy to be out. I get to touch grass. I get to see the world. Oh my goodness, cars are real. And I was happy for about a day. But then I had also called him once on the last night that I had been in the psych ward, and he was surprised and not really happy about it, because we had not contacted for about a month. Or, well, 3 weeks at that point. It was supposed to be a month that we don't talk. And I was kind of sad because I'd written a 10-page letter of apologies with a bendy pencil in the psych ward. And if you don't know what a bendy pencil is, search it up. It's rage bait in the form of a pencil. You never want to use it, I promise you. And 10 pages of it, nightmare. But I wrote it, and then I scrapped it because I realized that it probably wouldn't do anything, and I doubt he'd listen to it. Also, the handwriting was bad, haha. And I get out of the psych ward and I talk to him again. And it's over at that point, and I realize that. But at the same time, I still ask for another chance, even though I know that it isn't right. That the relationship's just toxic and not working out. And I shared stuff with my friends about our relationship that he ended up finding out because one of my friends leaked it to him. And I do regret sharing it a bit just because he had to find out. But I less regret sharing it and more regret the phrasing of it. Because through me telling my friends what had happened, I learned a very valuable lesson to myself. Thankfully, because my friends, they're a year older than me, and they have some wisdom to them. So I'm still glad I told them. even though I wish I had just said it differently because it implied way worse with the words I used. But after that, it was just over, and I just continued to spiral. My brain was talking in poetry to my friends. It was like my brain was frazzled. I didn't know what was I supposed to do. It was over with him, and my friends were scattered across the country in their college, and I can't talk to him anymore. My friends are busy and I can't really talk to them. And I have nobody at school either because I switched to hybrid school. So I just sat in my bed and I wondered, what's the point anymore? What is my dream? And I realized then I don't know what it is anymore. And majority of my life I didn't have a dream or motivation to keep doing things. But I just kept going because I was like, one day I'll find it. But at that point I was wondering, if I don't have a dream and the people that I relied on are gone, then what's the point of still going? I went to bed that night praying to God that he would just take me into his arms into heaven that night so I could die peacefully and not have to do it myself. And I woke up the next morning disappointed, to say the least. And I spent that day rather sad, still really sorrowful about my breakup, my friends, and my dreams. And the next night, I left the Discord server that I shared with my friends as at least a way to say farewell. And I think many of them knew what was coming, because I had been depressed for a long time already. But at that point, I no longer cared. And I went to bed again that night praying for God to take me. And I woke up the next morning. And I cried to my dad. And it was like an hour of crying, telling what had happened. But I still continued the rest of the day wishing that I had been gone. But then I went out with my dad and I was just scrolling my phone in the car and I found Cyrene's trailer again. And I listened to it again. And the line that struck me the most was when she said, "If you stay an onlooker, you will never know the pain that loneliness is." And I realized I had kind of just stayed an onlooker. I let life take me where it wanted me to. I took it for granted and I didn't take the opportunities that I should have. I didn't take risks and steps. And I had turned out lonely. And then I look back at the trailer and I watch it again. And I realized through comments, oh, Cyrene's like self-inserting. And I realized, dang, I've been doing that since the pandemic. I've had imaginary friends since the pandemic. And I had also been doing a ton of self-inserting to cope. And then I watched it and watched it again and again, and I listened to it over and over for probably the next 3 hours to just hear her go on about how she was still going to try through 33 million cycles. And I realized this is a character that I adore and to some degree look up to. And while she's a fictional character and I will never have the same amount of strength, I'm in one cycle. And I don't know what happens at the end of Amphorius yet, And I don't really understand the story because I haven't played it yet. But I realized that she's felt that loneliness too. But she keeps going. And that made me want to keep going. Because, well, even though she's a fictional character, she inspired me to keep going. And that's the day that I had a real genuine smile on my face again ever since the psych ward. So, that's how Cyrene saved my life. Because she was just relatable. And she shows and displays the perseverance that I need to grow to have. So I thank you, HOYO-verse, for making a character so inspiring, so strong for a woman, and just simply for giving her such a story that resonates with me, and I would think other people as well. So after that, I decided, why not try to dream again? So I opened YouTube and I recorded myself and I posted a short again of how Cyrene saved my life. And I realized this is what I want to do. I want to keep doing content. I want to keep streaming. I want to keep making people smile and laugh. So I did, and this is where I am now. I'm starting to stream again and post videos and shorts, and I'm really happy about it. So, if you're watching this, I hope that it can at least inspire somebody to keep going. Because I know how hard it can get, and I know I'm not even the lowest that you can get, but there's always a reason to keep going. There's always a reason to keep dreaming. And even when we lose the people we rely on, there are always people that we can ask for help, even if we hadn't been as close to them as we should have. For me, that was my parents and my teachers. And for you, it could be somebody else. So if you're gonna take anything from this, I believe in you. Keep going. And I promise you, one day, it'll be better. And we'll get our happy ending.